Greetings, everyone. Catherine here with For a Life Worth Living. So I'm introducing the idea of the Storykeepers, which replace the idea of triggers. To me, triggers is a violent word, and they were disrupting my life. They're a symptom of PTSD. We're constantly reacting to little things that in the today life may not be threatening, but it's just enough of information to where the PTSD is kicked off. So when I looked at the idea of triggers and how I couldn't use that word anymore, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I knew that looking at the stories inside of me of what happened to me was necessary, but I was scared, but I knew I had to because I wasn't going to make it if I didn't. I did know that. So I came up with the idea of the Storykeepers, and then what does that mean? And I imagined, and I've been diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, bipolar, schizophrenia, all these words indicate fragmentation. Fragmentation is a tool of perpetrators, and I include narcissists, that the more they come at us, the more they injure us. Their intention is to fragment us to where we're not whole, we're not a whole person, our mind is so fragmented, and then we're in survival mode, and it's a form of mind control, it's a form of brainwashing, and the intention is to depersonalize us to where we are not people, we're not the people God created us to be, and they can do whatever we want to. For too many years I thought I was a worthless rag doll to be used and exploited, and that's what their depersonalization had done to me. So anyway, let's get back to the fragmentation. So let's just say I have a lot of Storykeepers in me because it was systemic, it lasted a lot of years, and this is how I came up with a way that I could manage processing my stories. That would be the better way to do it. So I called them the Storykeepers. So when I would get triggered, I felt like it was a Storykeeper saying, hey, I have a story. So I would sit down with my notebook and pencil, kind of like a reporter, because I have worked as a newspaper reporter before. So I would sit down and interview her, write this dialogue in the journal about that. And I imagined, then I tied the age of the person telling me the story with one of the nesting dolls. This guy keeps losing his. So I would say, how old are you? And starting out, it would be this one, which would be the adult who was in an abusive marriage. And so I would listen to her story. And this was not a linear process, I guarantee you. It would skip around a lot to whomever would listen. And sometimes they all wanted to talk at the same time. I'd say, there's only one of me and a lot of you. A lot of stories. So we'll do this one at a time. So I tied this one into the infant of me. This was actually the last one that really needed attention. This is a little chipmunk. And so if you look at the age progression, this would be me as an infant, and then this would be me as a young girl, like in elementary school. This is a porcupine. I just made a mess. This is a porcupine. This is a raccoon, which would be young teenager me. This is a deer, which would be older teenager me, like even up to early 20s. That'd be when I started drinking. And then this would be the adult me, who is in the abusive marriage. So all these stories, you could say, were nested inside of me. And this is when I hit bottom, because there was too much. I just couldn't, there were just too much. It was too much triggering going on. So that's the wildland animals nesting dolls. These guys that I messed up, these are, I would call them, it's a marching band, but they're, one one's missing. Well, anyway, you get the idea, but here's the little one. You know, this is the foundation of who we're created to be. These are people in uniform. So I was trying to look for some military nesting dolls and I couldn't find any. So these were people in uniform in a band. But this is the one who sings. This is the main storyteller. And then this guy has a baton, and I would call him the protector. And I'll talk about the protector in another video. So that story was nested in here. And then this guy has a drum, so he's the one that gets attention, or she. The story gets nested in there. And then my adult self that has a baton that's leading the band. You know, a lot of my initial recording of stories from the Storykeepers was about my abusive marriage. Let's see if I can get him lined up. So, so you got that, you got the marching band or somebody in uniform, you've got the wildland animals, and then, and I'll hold this up long enough for you to do a screenshot, I found this online where you can paint your own. You know, it doesn't have to look like a doll, but you can paint your own to represent what you think your Storykeepers are. So there's a lot of creativity in this, and it also takes a lot of courage. You know, sometimes I might be at a grocery store and something triggers me, and then I just feel all that anxiety and those symptoms kick in, and I would talk to the Storykeepers. I said, we're in a store right now, and I cannot hear your story right now, but when I get home, you can tell me your story. So lots of stories, and you got to understand, the person you see today is not the person I was 12 years ago. So it's taken a lot of time. My hope is, as I show you this particular tool in particular, but the other tools as well, that it will not take you as long, because what you become, what your today person becomes, is the master. Like in Star Wars, you have the Jedi Knights, you know, and the master, you know, master. So I have become the master. I'm in charge. And it takes a while to establish my in-chargeness or leadership. It took me a while because there was some resistance by some of these. But again, I'll talk to you about that in another video. So I hope you get this. I hope it's something that'll work for you. And please like, share, and subscribe to share the hope. And I'll catch you in the next, take a screenshot of that in the next video.